You know that moment when you walk into a room and feel nothing? No one looks up, no one sees you. You could disappear right then and there, and the world would just keep spinning. Maybe it's not a room. Maybe it's your phone. You stare at it, waiting for a message that doesn't come. You scroll through conversations that used to be alive, and now they're just silent. You replay what you said, what you did, trying to find the moment the energy changed. That's what it feels like when you start to fade in someone else's story. You go from being essential to being optional, from being seen to being invisible. And I want you to know something. That moment hurts for a reason. It hurts because somewhere deep inside, your soul knows this isn't how love, friendship, or connection is supposed to feel. You were not born to beg for presence. You were not born to shrink yourself just to be noticed. But over time, that's exactly what happens, isn't it? You start dimming your light just a little. You start softening your voice so you don't cause problems. You start agreeing when you want to scream. And one day, you wake up and realize you've disappeared from your own life. Let me tell you something straight. Invisibility doesn't happen all at once. It happens in the 1,000 small moments you choose someone else's comfort over your own truth. The 1,000 little times you say it's fine when it isn't. The 1,000 quiet sacrifices you make, hoping someone will finally see how hard you're trying. But here's the twist. They won't. Not because they're cruel, not because you're not worth seeing, but because people can only see you to the extent that you see yourself. And that's where we begin today. Because I know you. You've been the one holding everything together, the one always showing up, always caring, always proving, and you're tired. You're exhausted from trying to earn the love you already deserve. This moment, this painful, empty, why doesn't anyone see me moment, it's not the end of your story. It's the turning point. You see, being invisible isn't the punishment. It's the wake-up call. It's the moment the universe stops whispering and starts shouting, hey, you've been looking everywhere but in the mirror. And here's the truth you need to hear. The person you've been waiting for, the one to notice you, to choose you, to say you matter, that person is you. Because the day you stop chasing visibility from others and start seeing yourself clearly again, that's the day everything changes. You go from being invisible to unforgettable. You go from overlooked to magnetic. And it doesn't happen because they finally wake up. It happens because you do. So if you're in that space right now, if you're feeling unseen, unheard, undervalued, I want you to stay with me. Don't look away, because what comes next isn't about them anymore. It's about you. And I promise you, once you take your power back, you'll never feel invisible again. Let's talk about why you started disappearing in the first place. Because this pattern of losing yourself, it isn't random. It's not weakness. It's not you being too nice or too emotional. It's wiring. It's survival. See, when you were younger, you learned that love had rules. Maybe love meant being quiet. Maybe it meant earning attention through achievement. Maybe it meant never upsetting anyone, never being too much. And your brilliant brain, because it is brilliant, took notes. It said, okay, if I want to be safe, if I want to be loved, I have to perform, I have to please, I have to prove. And that script has been running ever since. So every time someone pulls away, every time you sense rejection, every time you feel that sting of being unseen, your nervous system panics. You don't even think it's automatic. You start chasing, explaining, texting, apologizing for things you didn't even do wrong. Why? Because your brain believes connection equals safety. And silence? Silence feels like danger. But here's the truth that no one told you. The danger isn't in silence. The danger is in self-abandonment. Every time you rush to fix, to please, to perform, you're telling your own nervous system, I can't handle being me. I have to change to be chosen. And the more you do that, the more invisible you become. Not because people stop seeing you, but because you stop showing up, you start hiding behind politeness, behind being the strong one, behind being the understanding one. You make yourself smaller so others feel comfortable. You silence your truth so they stay calm. And over time, you forget what your own voice even sounds like. That's the psychology of disappearing. It's not about losing visibility in their eyes. It's about losing authenticity in your own. But here's what's powerful. Once you see the pattern, you can stop it. You can catch yourself the moment you start explaining your worth instead of embodying it. You can pause the moment your mind whispers, if I just reach out, maybe they'll come back. Because what's really happening in that moment isn't about love, it's about fear. Fear of being forgotten, fear of being replaced, fear that maybe you're not enough on your own. And listen to me, fear doesn't mean truth. It just means you're human. Your brain was built to protect you, not empower you. That's why you have to learn to override it. That's where your power begins. You know my 5-second rule, the one that says you can change your life in 5 seconds flat? That rule isn't about motivation, it's about interruption. Because when your brain starts whispering, reach out, chase them, fix it, you can interrupt it with 5 simple seconds of awareness. 5 seconds to remember, wait, my peace matters more than their response. 5 seconds to breathe instead of beg. 5 seconds to choose yourself. That's how you start reprogramming your nervous system. Not by fighting the fear, but by teaching it that safety doesn't come from being seen. It comes from standing still. You don't need to perform anymore. You don't need to prove. You just need to pause. Because the truth is, you never really disappeared. You just dimmed your light so someone else could feel comfortable in the dark. And today, that ends. Because the next time you feel unseen, I want you to remember this. Your worth isn't waiting for someone to notice you. It's waiting for you to stop abandoning yourself. That's the moment you stop disappearing. That's the moment the comeback begins. There comes a moment when the noise stops. No more explaining, no more chasing, no more begging someone to understand you. And that silence, God, that silence feels terrifying at first, doesn't it? Because silence used to mean rejection. It used to mean abandonment. It used to mean that you lost. But I want you to hear me. This time, silence means something entirely different. This time, silence is self-respect. When you stop reaching out, when you stop filling the space with apologies and explanations, when you finally let the silence sit, that's not weakness. That's strength in its purest form. Because silence isn't passive. It's power. It's you saying, I refuse to keep fighting for someone who's already stopped listening. It's you choosing peace over panic. It's you remembering that your energy is sacred and not everyone deserves access to it. You see, your silence used to come from fear. Now it comes from clarity. It used to say, please see me. Now it says, I finally see myself. And that shift right there, that's everything. When you stop chasing, something incredible happens. You create space. And in that space, your power returns. Your breath deepens. Your mind clears. That ache in your chest, it starts to ease. Not because they came back, but because you did. I know it feels strange at first. You'll have those mornings where you wake up and reach for your phone out of habit, waiting for their name to pop up. And when it doesn't, your brain will scream, say something, fix it, break the silence. But don't fill that space. Don't go back to the noise. Because that's not healing, it's habit. And you are breaking that habit right now. You're teaching yourself that peace doesn't have to feel lonely. You're teaching yourself that quiet doesn't mean loss. You're teaching yourself that sometimes the loudest declaration of self-worth is saying nothing at all. Let me tell you something powerful. When you go silent, not to punish, but to protect, you shift the entire dynamic. Because silence exposes truth. It shows you who's willing to meet you halfway. It shows you who can handle your boundaries and who can't. It shows you who respects you enough to step forward when you stop carrying the whole relationship on your back. And for the first time, you stop feeling desperate for closure because you realize you are the closure. That's what self-respect looks like. It's calm. It's quiet. It's not a performance. It's presence. You don't have to explain your peace. You don't have to defend your boundaries. You just have to live them. So if you're in that place right now where the silence feels heavy and the urge to reach out is clawing at you, take a deep breath. You're not being ignored. You're being invited to stand in your own worth for the first time. Silence isn't the end of love. It's the beginning of self-respect. And when you start to choose your peace over their patterns, something sacred happens. You stop reacting and you start healing. You stop shrinking and you start shining. You stop being invisible and you start being whole. That's the turning point. That's where your story changes. There's a moment that comes right after you stop reaching out, right after you choose silence, and it's the hardest one of all. It's that moment when everything goes still. The phone's quiet, the messages stop, and suddenly it's just you. No more distractions, no more stories, no more guessing what they're thinking, just silence. And that silence, my friend, is a mirror. You start seeing everything you've been running from. Not them, you. You start realizing how much energy you gave away trying to be chosen. You see the ways you edited yourself just to keep the peace. You see how many times you said yes when your body screamed no. And it hits you. You weren't fighting for love. You were fighting to be seen. And that truth, it breaks you open. Because for the first time, you understand it was never about them not seeing your worth. It was about you forgetting it. Silence does that. It strips away the noise, the drama, the illusion. It holds up a mirror so clear you can't hide behind blame anymore. You can't point fingers. You can't rewrite the story. You have to face the part of you that settled. You have to face the part of you that thought crumbs were a feast. You have to face the part of you that confused attention for love. And I know that's not easy, because the moment you see your own pattern, shame shows up. That voice in your head starts whispering, "How could you let this happen? Why didn't you walk away sooner? What's wrong with me?" But listen to me, there is nothing wrong with you. You were doing what humans do when they don't feel safe. They attach, they perform, they cling to what feels familiar. You weren't weak. You were wired for connection. And that's beautiful. That means you have a heart that still wants to believe in people. But the mirror isn't here to shame you. It's here to free you. Because once you see your own pattern, you can break it. You can start asking new questions. What part of me still believes I have to earn love? When did I start thinking my needs were too much? Why have I been giving to people who never give back? Those questions are not comfortable, but they're sacred, because every answer pulls you closer to yourself. And when you start to face yourself, really face yourself, something shifts. You begin to understand that closure isn't something someone else gives you. It's something you create when you stop running from your reflection. You realize that you don't need an apology to move on. You don't need them to validate your pain. You don't even need them to come back. What you need is to stand in front of that mirror and say, "I see you, I hear you, I forgive you." That's the healing. That's the beginning of peace. Because the mirror doesn't lie, it reveals. It shows you not who you were in their story, but who you are beneath it. And once you see that person clearly, the one who tried, who cared, who gave everything, you can finally start giving that love back to yourself. So stay in the silence a little longer. Don't run from it. Don't fill it. Let it teach you what chaos never could. That peace isn't the absence of pain. It's the presence of truth. And the truth is, you were never too much. You were just giving it to people who weren't ready to receive it. Now it's time to give it to the one person who's been waiting all along. Here's what happens next, and this is where everything begins to change. The moment you stop pouring your attention into them, it flows back to you. You don't even realize it at first. You're just sitting there one morning, maybe with your coffee, no phone in your hand, no notifications, lighting up your screen, and you feel something strange. It's quiet, but it's not empty. It's energy, yours, coming home, because attention is energy. And every time you obsessed over what they were doing, what they were thinking, whether they missed you, you were leaking power. You were feeding everyone else's peace but your own. But when you pull that attention back, When you stop chasing closure and start choosing calm, you stop bleeding energy. You start building it. You start remembering what it feels like to be full again. Let me say something that will hit you right in the truth. You can't be powerful and preoccupied at the same time. If your mind is busy analyzing their silence, you can't hear your own intuition. If your energy is trapped in proving your worth, you can't create the life you actually deserve. So this is where you turn your focus around. You take all that energy, the analyzing, the waiting, the longing, and you give it a new job. You start feeding yourself instead of the fantasy. You turn attention into action. And no, it doesn't have to be some big dramatic reinvention. It starts small, tiny. You wake up in the morning and instead of scrolling through what's missing, you ask, what can I give myself today? Maybe it's movement. Maybe it's silence. Maybe it's one small promise you actually keep, like making your bed or writing for 10 minutes or taking that walk you've been putting off. That's how energy shifts, not with force, but with focus. You see, your brain is like a GPS. It doesn't care what destination you set. If you keep focusing on what hurts, it'll take you there. But if you start focusing on what heals, it'll take you there too. So you start changing the input. You start feeding it proof that you are safe, that you are growing, that you are whole. And every time you do that, your nervous system calms a little more. The chaos gets quieter. The world stops spinning. And one day, you'll catch yourself laughing again, not because everything's perfect, but because you finally feel present. That's the power of redirecting attention. You start realizing that your peace was never hiding in their message. It was waiting in your awareness. When you stop looking outward for energy and start generating it from within, that's when you become magnetic, not needy, not chasing, not proving, magnetic. Because the truth is, energy doesn't lie. The moment you take it back, people feel it. You feel it. You walk differently. You speak differently. You start carrying a calm that says, I'm not waiting anymore. And the universe responds to that energy every single time. That's the shift. That's where the healing becomes power. That's where invisibility turns into influence. Because when you take your attention back, you don't just change what you see. You change what sees you. Something happens when you stop chasing, and you don't even have to say a word, they feel it. The moment your energy shifts, the moment you stop trying to be understood, to be chosen, to be seen, they notice. They don't know what changed. They can't quite name it, but they feel it because energy doesn't need explanation. It announces itself. You see, they were used to your pursuit. They were used to your check-ins, your long messages, your endless understanding. They were used to your love showing up no matter how much they withdrew. That pattern became their safety net. But now the net's gone. And at first, they think it's fine. They think, oh, they're just giving me space. They scroll, they distract themselves, they tell their friends they're doing great. But silence is a mirror, and mirrors never lie. Because when you stop feeding someone your attention, they start starving for it. Not because they suddenly found love, but because they lost control. They can't feel your energy anymore. They can't sense that pull that always brought them back. And that's when the power flips. Not because you're playing games, but because you stopped playing their game. You see, your peace used to be their comfort. Now, your peace is their confusion. Your calm used to mean they could drift in and out. Now, your calm means they can't find their way back in. And here's the part I want you to really hear. You didn't gain power by becoming cold. You gained power by becoming clear. There's a difference. You didn't withdraw to punish. You withdrew to protect. You didn't go silent to manipulate. You went silent to heal. You stopped reacting because your nervous system finally remembered what safety feels like. And that energy, that quiet, grounded strength, it's magnetic, not because you're chasing them anymore, but because you finally stopped chasing anyone. This is when you become the calm in the chaos. When you're no longer moved by every emotional storm. When your peace becomes the loudest thing in the room, and here's the irony, the same silence they once took for granted now keeps them up at night. They'll scroll back through messages. They'll replay conversations in their mind. They'll wonder what changed. And the answer is simple. You did. You stopped needing their recognition to feel real. You stopped begging for clarity that you could give yourself. You stopped trying to fix what was never yours to fix. And the moment you did, you broke the cycle. That's what true power looks like: quiet, steady, and untouchable. It's not about who calls first. It's not about who wins the silence. It's about who finally found peace in it. So when they start feeling the shift, when they circle back, when they test the waters, when they try to figure out what happened, you won't need to prove anything because your energy already said it all. You're not angry. You're not waiting. You're free. This is where the real work begins. Because taking your power back isn't just about walking away. It's about walking home, back to you, back to your own trust, back to the place inside you that says, I've got me now. You've spent so long doubting yourself, haven't you? Asking everyone else what to do, waiting for signs, scrolling for answers that already lived inside you. But when you stop running after noise, you start hearing that quiet voice again, the one that's been whispering beneath all the chaos. That voice is called intuition. And it's the most trustworthy thing you have. See, rebuilding isn't glamorous. It's not a makeover. It's mornings when you feel heavy, but get up anyway. It's choosing to do one small thing for yourself, even when no one's watching. It's saying, I'm not sure where this is going, but I trust myself enough to find out. Because self-trust doesn't come from being fearless. It comes from being faithful. Faithful to your own needs, faithful to your boundaries, faithful to your growth. Every time you honor that little nudge to rest, to say no, to walk away, to speak up, you're building evidence. And that evidence becomes confidence. That's what I call the confidence loop. You keep promises to yourself, you prove you're reliable, and your mind starts believing you again. You don't need anyone's permission to rebuild. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to make a comeback post about it. Just live it quietly, intentionally, consistently. Maybe for the first time, your life isn't about proving anymore. It's about becoming. And listen, rebuilding doesn't mean you won't wobble. You'll still have those moments where your old habits whisper, maybe reach out. You'll still feel that tug to over-explain or smooth things over. But now, you know what that is? It's the echo of an old pattern. And you can meet it with compassion instead of compliance. You can say to yourself, I hear you, but we're not doing that anymore. That's self-trust in action. Because trust isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It's quiet. It's steady. It's doing the right thing for yourself, even when it's inconvenient. And the beautiful part? When you start trusting yourself, life starts trusting you back. Opportunities show up. Peace stays longer. You stop second guessing and start creating. You start realizing you don't need to chase stability. You are stability. You don't need to demand respect. You embody it. You don't need to look for love. You become the energy that attracts it naturally. Because when you rebuild from self-trust, everything you do feels different. You walk slower. You breathe deeper. You choose better. And little by little, your life starts matching your worth. That's not luck. That's alignment. That's what happens when you stop needing reassurance from the world and start becoming your own. You've rebuilt something unshakable. And it's not a relationship, it's you. You've changed, and you can feel it, can't you? There's a stillness in you now, a quiet power. You don't wake up wondering what they think. You wake up wondering what you think. And that's the shift. That's the birth of the new magnetic you. See, for the longest time, you thought attraction came from chasing, from proving, from being everything for everyone. But magnetism, real, lasting magnetism, doesn't come from movement. It comes from stillness. It's the kind of energy that doesn't shout. It glows. It says, I'm good. I'm grounded. I'm whole. And the world feels that. People start to lean in, not because you're trying, but because you're being. You used to try to make people see your worth. Now you carry it like skin. You used to explain your heart to those who never had the language to understand it. Now you protect your peace like it's oxygen. You used to beg for love. Now love starts finding you. That's what happens when you stop grasping and start glowing. Because when your energy is rooted in peace, it becomes irresistible, not loud, not performative, but undeniable. The world is drawn to what's grounded. And you, my friend, are finally grounded. Here's what no one tells you about true attraction. It's not about looks. It's not about charm. It's about congruence. When your inside finally matches your outside, when your energy, your boundaries, your words all tell the same story, people feel safe around you. They trust you. They respect you. And most importantly, you trust you. That's the kind of magnetism that can't be faked. It's not about pulling others in. It's about pulling yourself back into alignment. Because people don't fall in love with your effort. They fall in love with your peace. They fall in love with your presence. They fall in love with how you make them feel, and nothing feels better than calm confidence. You see, the old you was trying to earn love. The new you embodies it. The old you was chasing validation. The new you radiates self-respect. The old you was waiting for permission. The new you gives herself approval. You no longer need to prove your worth, you live it. Every boundary you hold is a declaration of it. Every no that you say with peace is proof of it. Every time you choose stillness instead of chaos, you send a message to the universe. I'm not available for what drains me anymore. And that's when everything begins to shift. The people, the opportunities, the love. Because energy is a mirror. The moment you rise, life rises to meet you. You are magnetic now, not because of what you've gained, but because of what you finally let go of. The need to prove, the need to chase, the need to be chosen. You've already chosen yourself, and that's what makes you unforgettable. So when people start to notice the glow, when they ask, what changed? Smile. Because the answer isn't a person. It's not a plan. It's peace. And peace looks good on you. You made it. And before you move on, I want you to stop right here, right now, and take a breath. Because this is it. This is the moment you've been working toward without even knowing it. The moment you realize you don't need their validation to feel valuable, the moment you understand that love built on chasing was never love, it was survival, and you're done surviving. You're ready to live. Freedom doesn't come when someone finally says you're enough. Freedom comes when you whisper it to yourself and believe it. You see, all this time, you thought the end of that relationship, that friendship, that connection was a loss. But it wasn't. It was a release, a sacred, painful, necessary release of everything that wasn't aligned with who you're becoming. And what you're becoming is free, free from performing, free from proving, free from waiting, free from the cycle of needing someone else to see what you already know is true. Because validation feels good, but freedom feels better. Validation is temporary. Freedom is forever. You no longer need to chase someone to feel chosen. You no longer need to explain why you walked away. You no longer need to wait for closure from people who were never capable of giving it. Because closure isn't something they give you, it's something you create when you finally come home to yourself. And that's where you are right now. Home. So when they circle back, when life tests you, when the same pattern tries to repeat itself, pause, remember what this silence taught you. Remember what it cost you to reclaim your peace. And remember this truth. You can love someone deeply and still walk away with grace. You can care about them and still choose yourself. You can forgive and still move forward. Because peace isn't indifference, it's wisdom. It's knowing that love isn't about losing yourself to keep someone else comfortable. It's about standing in your truth, even if it means standing alone for a while. And I promise you, you won't stay alone for long. Because the moment you choose peace over patterns, the universe starts aligning everything to meet you there. So here's my invitation to you. Don't go back to what broke you just because it's familiar. Don't trade your freedom for attention. And don't ever dim your light again just to feel seen. You were never invisible. You were just learning how to see yourself. And now that you do, you're unstoppable.